Thanks for dropping by. Jack Reacher said there was no going back, but I'm going to show you how you can in Davinci Resolve Fusion. This is the Spitfire tribute at Fairhaven Lake in the northwest of England. I'm out cycling again, aren't I? I do a lot of cycling. I got into cycling in 2014. I'd read 3 books by a lady called Anne Musto. She was a retired school headmistress and she went for a bike ride one day and cycled around the world. And I thought, well, if she can do it. So I bought a £45 bike and I set off from my hometown in the north of England, a place called Blackpool, and cycled 1,500 kilometres to Venice in Italy. And it was the best time of my life and I'd love to do that again. But that's not what you're here for, is it? In this video, we're going to be looking at duplicating the elements, popping them in the corners and in the middle. So we'll be using instances, which is a different way of duplicating items because it gives you far more control. We're going to look at fusion versioning, so there's always a way back if you make a mistake in your composition. And I'm going to do underlays and tidy up the node tree as well. So I'm off for a bike ride. You sit back, relax and enjoy the video. Phase 4 is going to be a little bit for housekeeping. Basically what we're going to do is just make sure that we can always go back. It's really simple. All we need to do is to come up to the top where it says clips, and at the bottom we'll get a film strip, and this is our composition here because we're only building one thing. That's what we've got. If we right click in this clip, you'll see here we can create a new composition, and this is the composition we're working on. And I'm going to rename this, and this is going to be its version 1.0.0, and I'm going to use the standard versioning. So I've named it and you can see it there, and what I'm going to do now is create a new composition, and what's going to happen, it's going to make a duplicate of what's on the screen. If we right click inside here, we've now got composition 2. That's our last version and this is what we're working on. And what that means, if we now make a mistake, we can always come back to this point here, and then next time we save it we can rename this. So that's a really good housekeeping tip, so we can now always go back to here. What we need to do, let's close clips, but then we need to save it. I'm going to duplicate this into all 4 corners. What I am going to do, I'm just going to bring these nodes down here. So this node group is in this bottom left, and then I'll have top left and then top right and bottom right, and then that way the nodes line up with what's visual on screen. So when I do need to come back to any of these I can do. So got that set up, and all I need to do is really simple. I'm just going to copy these, so I'm highlighting them all, Control and C. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste an instance. So you'll see the green lines, and what this means, straight away now all those expressions and everything are in here. Again, I'm just going to put that down here, that down there. So now anything I do in these nodes down here changes in these nodes here. I'm going to come to the instance, which is the render, the last one, grab the output and just hover over the output of render 1 and it will create a merge. So now we've got both of these in here, just in the same place. And the way we're going to change that is I'm going to come into the instance transform. What I need to do is we want to change the X and the Y, or we want to change the Y offset. So we want this up here rather than down here. And what I need to do is I actually need to come over X offset and de-instance, and come over Y offset and de-instance. In fact, I probably don't need to de-instance the X offset. So I've just de-instanced the Y offset. And now we want to take this up here. It's a negative number and we want a positive number. So on this actual expression, because we've de-instanced, you must de-instance, otherwise it's going to affect the other one. I'm going to come into here and I'm going to go to the beginning, and we're going to do the -1 times open parentheses, go to the end, close parentheses, and that's going to change this negative 28 to plus 28 and just put it straight in that corner. So these controls here, it's going to operate everything. It's going to be like a master control. What we need to do now is duplicate them over here. I'm going to move the merge out of the way so I can grab a hold of the original nodes, and I'm going to copy them, Control and C. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to paste instance, so Control, Shift and V, and we've got the instance. You can tell it's an instance because of these green lines. Just move the merge back out. With this, I can take the render, come back to this merge, and it now create another merge. This instance is underneath this, and we want to move it over here. However, if we move it over here, the smaller shape will be off the screen. We want where the shape's on the right hand side here, we want it on the left hand side. So I'm going to go into the transform, and I'm going to de-instance the X offset and de-instance the Y offset. I'm going to remove the expression, and I'm going to reset it so my instance is in the middle, and I can move this over to this side before placing it, just so I can see. Not 100% necessary, but what I can do now is I can go into the position, so the X offset, and we'll come into this expression and we'll do the -1 times open parentheses, go to the end, close parentheses. This goes on the other side. However, they all went on the other side because I forgot to de-instance. So I'm just going to go back. Let's see if Control and Z will go back. So back in the middle. What I need to do is when I come into this X offset, I need to de-instance it. And now this isn't connected to these anymore. Let's try again. So we want to go to the beginning of -1 times open parentheses, go to the end, close parentheses, and now that just moves over there, but they don't. I need to position this down here. So let's go into the transform, and these aren't connected. I can check because that says re-instance. So that's the X offset is going to be 0.5. So this edge here. And again, what we're going to do, I'm going to take the Y offset. I'm going to have an expression, which is going to be the X offset divided by 1.7777. I need to bring this down here. So we go -1 times open parentheses, go to the close parentheses, down in the bottom right on the screen and down in the bottom right on the... Because I have here the smaller shape is now on the left there and the smaller shape is on the right here, I am going to copy an instance of an instance. I'm going to grab all of these nodes here, Control and C. I'm going to come up here where we're going to place it, and it's Control, Shift and V. Gives me an instance. So what I've got is an instance of this. Grab the render, put it to the merge, create me a new merge, and nudge that over. Like that. Now I go into the transform. Let's tidy up. I go into the transform, and the Y offset, I need to de-instance the Y offset, and you'll notice the Y offset is -0.28125. If I come in here and I remove the parentheses, go to the beginning and delete the -1 times parentheses, we've now got it at the top. Because I've used an instance, then everything is now connected together, and it all works off this parameters down here from the original. So again, if we come in here and we change that from a solid to an outline, all four corners change, and we've got the animation. Now I've used an instance because a duplicate, we could have used a duplicate of this node structure here. However, if I turn this node structure off, we would lose all of them, and I don't want to do that. I want to be able to switch these on and off. So by doing an instance, it gives us that flexibility. I think it looks better with straight green lines, so we'll do that. If I go into this merge and I go to blend in the inspector and reduce the blend, it turns off its counterpart. And same if I go to this merge, I can turn that off. If I go to merge 3, blend, I can turn that off. And that's where I'm going to put my switches on the merge. So we can turn that off. Now I've turned everything off, but I've still got the original. And I haven't got anything to turn the original off with yet. What I'm going to use a dissolve node. And the dissolve node is a perfect switch. They're fantastic. I'm going to do shift and space to bring up my search. Already got dissolve typed in, but you type in dissolve. Let's spell it right, eh? That helps. There we go, dissolve. And I'm going to bring that into the node tree. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold down the shift and I'm going to drag it in here. And can you see the line change colour? Let go, and now it's connected. We can see in the inspector we've got foreground and background, but it doesn't do anything, and that's because it's only one input. But I'm going to cheat and bring in a background node, connect the background node to the dissolve, and the screen's gone black. So I'm going to go into the background node and drop the alpha. And now the screen is opaque or transparent. I'm going to go back in the dissolve, and what you can see is that can be my switch, so I can use that to turn it on and off. So I'm going to come to the dissolve and just do Control and T, which will flip the inputs. So now 1, it's on screen, 0, it's off screen. And I'm going to attach a little checkbox so the end user can just switch it on and off. They don't have to use a slider. Just before I go, what I will be doing is tidying up where I grab all these nodes. I'm going to use an underlay. So by highlighting the nodes which represent the bottom left, and then I'll do shift and space bar, and I'll type underlay. You just have to type the first 3 letters and get underlay. Now because they're highlighted, when I select underlay, it's got hold of them. They're inside the underlay. I can press F2 to rename this, and this is going to be lower left. I put corner. So, and the reason I put corner, not octagon, hexagon, or SGNON, or whatever it was, is because I can use this node tree again and just replace out the shapes. So, and then I can change its color. Set color, and we'll have blue. And then I can come up here, grab these. I want the merges out, so I'm not going to select the merge. Can I pull the merge out there? Yes, I can. The reason I want the merges out is because the merges are going to be the switches. And that way I can see them better. So I'm going to highlight, shift and space, underlay, F2. This is going to be lower right corner. The reason I'm putting corner is I'm going to put one in the middle, which will be in our next section. So I need the background and the dissolve out. So this is my switch for 1. This is my switch for 2. That's my switch for 3, the top right. Now at this stage I'm going to do a version of this. I'm going to go into clips, right click, composition 2, and I'm going to rename this version 1.1 because it's a major change, 0.0. And now in here I've got version 1.0, 1.10. I'm going to create a new composition. It's made a duplicate. We can see in here we've got 3 now. We're working on 3. Hide the clips, save it. We are at that stage at the moment. So we'll have a bit of a break and then we'll move on to our next phase. Congratulations, you made it to the end. I know it was a bit slow and my editing was rubbish on that one, but some good housekeeping tips to be able to take with you for the future. Now, since recording that screencast, I've discovered something that was really important, so I thought I'd add it to the end of this episode or this stage, and that is instances. What I've discovered, if you use an expression to link two nodes together, then that expression recalculates every single frame and takes up a lot of CPU and GPU processing power. But if you do an instance of a node, then it doesn't. It takes what's called a freeze frame from the beginning and runs it all the way through for the instance node, which means it takes a lot of pressure off the CPU and GPU. And of course, with an instance, you can de-instance separate controls. So you can still release the controls to the end user or yourself and take all that pressure off the CPU and GPU. But thanks for watching this one, and join me in the next stage of building our infinite possibilities comp. Enjoy the rest of your day.